Are we ready? You're running.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this special council meeting to order. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for our statement of values? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we gather, we humbly seek blessings upon this meeting. May we act with the strength, the courage, and the will to perform our obligations and duties to our people with justice to all. Let us seek wisdom so that we may act in the best interest of our people, our neighbors, and our country. All this we ask so that we may serve our community with fairness and respect, putting their needs before all.
Please be seated. Roll call, City Clerk. Assistant City Clerk.
Councilmember Mahan. Here. Councilmember Hardy. Here. Councilmember O'Neill.
Here.
Councilmember Davis.
Here.
Councilmember Watanabe.
Here.
Councilmember Shahal.
Here.
Mayor Gilmore.
Here.
And may I read the AB 23 announcement?
Yes, please.
Members of the Santa Clara Stadium Authority, Sports and Open Space Authority, and Housing Authority are entitled to receive $30 for each attended meeting. Statement of Behavioral Standards. The City of Santa Clara has adopted a code of ethics and values and behavioral standards for public meetings to promote and maintain the highest levels of conduct. This includes mutual respect, robust discussion, and allowing city business to be done in an efficient and consistent manner. Please note that as a presiding officer, the mayor's direction in matters of process and decorum should be followed, and that the use of the gavel indicates all conversations must conclude and everyone in attendance should come to order and attention. Welcome and thank you for your participation.
Thank you very much. Before we get started, I just wanted to recognize we're honored to have this evening Senator Bob Wachowski with us here in the audience. Bob, if you wouldn't mind standing. We look forward to your swearing in January as well, so thank you so much for coming this evening. We really appreciate it. So now we'll move on to our special order of business. The first we have is the reading of the November 6, 2018 consolidated municipal special and general election results by the city clerk, Clerk Hagag.
Figure out how to turn on the mic.
Yeah, that's the first thing you have to learn is turning on the microphone.
And here it's red, but the wireless ones are green, so it's confusing. In the last council meeting, there was a resolution that was already adopted, so there is no action for you tonight, but I am going to read the results from the Registrar of Voters pursuant to California Elections Code Section 9269 and 10262 that required that the City Council adopt a resolution reciting the facts of the election no later than the next regularly scheduled City Council meeting following presentation of the 28-day canvass of returns. So that was done in last meeting on the 11th. And so there was an election held on November 6, 2018, along with the statewide general election that I'm sure everybody in this room is well aware of. And the Santa Clara County Registrar of Voters canvassed the returns of the election and presented the certified results to the city on December 6 of 2018. So consistent with the California Elections Code, the staff brings forward the report, and I'm going to read the result of the election. And so the total number of ballots that were cast in the city were 35,788 ballots out of a total registered voters number of 51,068 voters. And that actually is a 70.08% voter turnout. So good job, everybody in Santa Clara. So as a result, for the issues that were on the ballot in Santa Clara, for the offices and the names of the candidates and the total votes received, for our mayor, Lisa Gilmore, won the race for mayor with 23,334 votes. Sure, why not?
Thanks.
For Council District 2, and as everybody knows, this is the first year that we've elected council members by district. So for Council District 2, we have as the winner for Council District 2 was Raj Chahal, and he got 2,690 votes. And for Council District 3, the winner was Karen Hardy, and she got 3,578 votes. And for City Clerk, I was the winner with 7,079 votes. There were also two measures on the ballot. Measure M, titled the City of Santa Clara Commercial Cannabis Activity, that passed with a yes vote with 25,613 voting yes. And there was Measure N, was the advisory vote by District Council Elections Charter Amendment, also passed with 21,902 yes votes. So as I mentioned at the beginning, there is no action to be taken because the council already adopted a resolution certifying these results in the December 11th last week's meeting. So there is no action to be taken, but there is something that we're all waiting for, and that's the ceremonial swearing in. So with that, we are going to go, I guess I'm going first. And swearing me in, one other comment. We were all officially sworn in last meeting, along with the official resolution that was passed to certify the vote. So this is a ceremonial swearing in, and of course, so everybody can have some delicious cake and get together and celebrate before the holidays. So with that, I'm going to call upon my lovely wife, Fatima Rahman, and my three daughters, Asiya, Maryam, and Halima, to swear me in.
Yay.
Okay, so you're going to read this for me and just line up the lines. Do you guys want to stand on the chair so you can read it, or are you going to, you know what? Nora, do you have those extra copies? They're going to take turns with the lines swearing me in. Halima, you're going to help me too, right?
They worked hard on the campaign. They may as well swear you in.
Here you go, Maryam. This is
the
your
least
paper.
you can do for them. after me.
Say again.
Say it one more time.
Please raise your hand and repeat after me.
I state your name.
I, Hossam Hagag,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations,
Thank
City
you very
Clerk.
much, Vice
If
Mayor.
you would just stay there for a moment, and may I have the four council members that are not being sworn in tonight to join me in the front, please, because we have a congratulatory certificate for each of the people being sworn in tonight. So just hold on just a moment.
I'm pulling double duty today. All right. Next up, we're going to call upon the Honorable California State Senator Bob Wachowski from Senate District 10, who will administer the oath of office to our new council member, Raj Shahal. Please step forward.
It's on. Okay, it's a big deal when you're the first. So not only the whole Sikh community, but the whole city of Santa Clara has their eyes on you. So congratulations. Now, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Raj Chahal,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and that I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion.
and that I will well and faithfully
I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations, Raj.
Thank you.
And on behalf of the City of Santa Clara and the City Council, Councilmember Chahal, we are pleased to be able to present you with the certificate of welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, I'm going to ask to come up to the podium Mr. Mark D. Hardy, who will administer the oath of office to Councilmember Karen Hardy.
Microphone. And I'll just talk loud. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Karen Hardy,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which the duties upon which I am about to enter. You're the cutest part of the family.
Councilmember Hardy, on behalf of the City Council, it's my pleasure to be able to present you with the certificate of congratulations. Welcome to the City Council.
Thank you.
All right. Last but certainly not least, I'm going to call upon our former mayor, the Honorable Gary Gilmore, who will administer the oath of office to Mayor Lisa Gilmore.
Good evening, everyone. It's been 50 years. I looked up at the council. I said, what happened? Where are all the men? I feel sorry for you.
I know.
Well, I also want to recognize a very important person in this room. He's put up with her for many years. Dimitri, her husband. I'm your father. So I have to say, Dimitri has coached youth soccer for almost 20 years. He's never had a salary. He's taught over 2,000 kids. Dimitri, you're my hero. Oh, now to you. All right, what's your name?
I, Lisa Gilmore.
I, Lisa Gilmore.
Yes, I, Lisa
Your
Gilmore.
right hand's up, all right? Do solemnly swear or affirm
Do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United
the
States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purposes of evasion,
or purposes of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
And I will obey my Father.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, the whole family. Elizabeth. David. David. Shelley. Tisa.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, yay. There you go. All right.
I have to give you this.
Okay.
Yes.
Did I sign it?
Yes, you did, yes.
Okay.
One of my last official duties. So congratulations, Mayor Gilmore, on behalf of the City Council and the mayor, too. We are happy to present you with the certificate of congratulations. Welcome to the City Council and welcome as our official mayor.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you all for that. That was fun. And I think we've learned a lesson here that you never give an old politician a microphone. Right? Memory banks. Okay. All right, now we have remarks by our incoming elected officials. And we can all keep in mind that that cake's waiting for us. So anyways, first, it's an honor to start with our elected city clerk, Hassam Agag. I know he's never a loss for words. So Hassam, we're excited to hear what you have to say.
I know those comments were for me. In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. O you who believe, stand firmly for justice as witnesses to God, even if it be against yourselves, your parents, your kin. Whether it be against rich or poor, for God must be given preference over them. If you deviate from the truth in your testimony or decline to do justice, then surely God is well aware of what you do. the Holy Quran, chapter 4, verse 135. These were actually the very first words that I ever spoke in these chambers, nearly 5.5 years ago. In fact, it was the very first time that I even stepped into these chambers and attended a council meeting. And that was June 25th, 2013. And I remember that date because on the agenda that night was our house, the Santa Clara Up House, if you've heard of it or seen it or driven by it. And it was on the chopping block, even though I was already granted permits. I was never political, nor did I ever care about politics. But that night set in motion a series of events that changed my life forever. And at the root of the story, to keep the remarks short, Lisa, was a very small but extremely vocal opposition that was rooted in bigotry, racism, even Islamophobia. And it was a very stressful and dark time in our lives. 2 lawsuits. Fatima, my wife, took the family back to the East Coast. I lost 40 pounds from the stress. And all that could go through my mind at the time was, how was it that such a small yet vocal group could have such influence and make a change in somebody's life? But the reality is that that's the only way that change is ever made. And in our particular case, it was negative. But the only way to counter that negative is to have an engaged and active group of people fighting for what's good. And I often get asked if I were to go back in time, if I'd do it all over again. And even though that we were taken, to hell and back through that experience, I say yes. And the one thing that kept me sane, I guess you could say, during that entire ordeal was another verse from the Quran that says, and it may be that you dislike something and there is good in it for you. And it may be that you like something and there's harm in it for you, and God knows and you don't know. And through that experience, it lit a fire under me. And I started to understand the meaning of true grassroots community involvement. Fast forward a couple of years later, and just maybe, I'm only going to say 3 stories, so this is story number 2. In 2015, I had a wild interest in bees. Some of you may have seen that there was this really crazy Kickstarter project where, a father-son team in the middle of nowhere in Australia, they came up with this idea, this new invention that they could design a beehive in a way that you never had to open the beehive to extract the honey. You just needed to literally turn a faucet and the honey would flow out. And I'd never supported a single Kickstarter project in my life at that point. I hate to say even my own brothers. But I just was so fascinated by the idea and this kind of team dynamic that the father-son team had. And so I went, and it wasn't cheap. It was like $750. The moment I saw it, I bought it. And then after I bought it, I looked up the city ordinance on bees, and you couldn't keep bees in Santa Clara. So when I looked into it, I found that the ordinance was super old. It was like decades old, back when this valley was orchards, and it was possible to have a beehive 300 feet away from any road or 1,000 feet from any building, which is not possible or very rare these days. And we all know, the issues with bees, and I thought, how are we still with these old ordinances, and why can't we just change it? And so I looked up who could help me to figure this out, and I found out that there was something called the Santa Clara Valley Bee Guild. And so their website hadn't been updated in probably 8 years, and I didn't even know if they even existed anymore. And on their website it said, I tried calling the numbers, the emails, no response. And on their website it said that they had their meetings like on the first Monday of every month at this church. So I went to this church, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to try going. So I went to this church, and I went down into the basement, and I felt kind of lost because it didn't seem like there was anybody there. And I walk into the basement, and lo and behold, there's a room with 150 people in it. And I was like, where did all these people come from? All beekeepers and such. So I found the president of the Bee Guild, and I went and I introduced myself to him, and I said, hey, I live in Santa Clara. In Santa Clara, the rules don't allow to keep bees, and I want to change that. and can I have an opportunity to speak to the guild to, get your guys' help? And he said, good luck with that. So he said, but I'll give you a few minutes to speak at the mic, or to speak to the guild. And I went up and I said the same thing, and the entire room of 150 beekeepers in Santa Clara Valley laughed at me. And they said, we all tried. Not just in Santa Clara, but in a lot of the cities in the Bay. And quite frankly, we all just do it illegally in our backyards anyway, so you could just go do that yourself. And I said, you guys haven't met my neighbors. So I was determined to make the change. And so I told them, I said, okay, when the time comes, I'm going to go and do my homework. And when the time comes and I ask you guys to come and help, please come and help. So I met with the council members one by one. And that's where I met most of you for the first time. And it was a no-brainer. There's no reason not to keep it. Of course, you take the precautions and whatnot. And so the item was put on the agenda. And so I came, a bunch of my friends came, the Bee Guild came, the Master Gardeners Association came, and we started talking about bees here in this very hall. And a former council member, he interrupted the middle of the session, and he said, I don't get it. Why are we talking about bees when we have so much more important things to talk about and business to take care of? And I can remember like it was yesterday, our mayor, Lisa Gilmore, saying, because a community member cares. And that's what this is all about. Doing things for the community. And what was really amazing, of course it passed, long story short. Well, long story long, actually. But of course it passed. But the amazing thing is at the end of that night, when Mayor Lisa Gilmore was calling, last call for public comment, you could hear clickety-clack, clickety-clack, clickety-clack. And up walks to the podium Miss Santa Clara in her sash, in her dress, in her high heels. And she goes up to the mic and she says, I wasn't planning on speaking on this issue. I was here to accept my award for winning Miss Santa Clara. But I was inspired to speak after seeing all the previous speakers before me. And I did my high school project on bees. And Miss Santa Clara schooled the entire chambers on bees and the benefit of bees. And of course, it goes without saying, that night the ordinance passed, and the next day I had bees in my backyard. And what that experience really taught me was that, yes, it was kind of an experiment to see, is it possible to actually make change happen? And with determination, with community support, the answer is an emphatic yes, it can. The next year, Teresa had asked me if I wanted to be part of something called the Charter Review Committee, and I remember I responded that night to her at the care banquet, and I said, I have no idea what that is, but sign me up. And that's always been my attitude, a can-do attitude, that if the community needed something, that you'd find me there on the front lines. And we did some amazing things in that Charter Review Committee. We instituted lifetime term limits for the council and the mayor. We protected our parks. We changed appointments from a simple majority to a supermajority. But the thing that I'm most proud of is championing open and transparent government here in this city. And when I was in that Charter Review Committee, I asked city staff at the time, which I think almost none of them are still here, but I asked city staff at the time if they could record the meetings. And they said, no, it can't be done. And I remember, I just took it as that it couldn't be done. And I remember at the end of that night, a guy who I'd never met before walked up to me. He's sitting right there. And he said, this is a public meeting. You have every right to record the meeting. And oh, by the way, I just recorded the whole meeting on my iPhone, and I'll send you the recording to post. And so the next meeting I came with a recorder, and I brought the recorder, I put it on a tripod, and I plopped the tripod in the middle of the meeting. And the meeting started. And just as the meeting started, one of the committee members, said, I thought we said that we weren't going to be recording these meetings. And I said, it's a public meeting. We have every right to record. The public has a right to know what we are talking about. That is what open and transparent government is. And I recorded the meetings. I posted them online. And even city staff were coming back to ask for links to those recordings so that they could review their notes as well. And of course, since then is history. You'll see a lot of the live streaming that's happening here, all of that. It's about really making the city work for everybody. And we do that with open and transparent government. And that's what I promised to do as your next city clerk. And you guys all voted for that. I have one story before I close, and I know I took a lot of time. Sorry, Lisa, the cake's already cold probably. Sorry to everybody here. But before I close the story, I want to thank everybody who helped me in this campaign, and even before the campaign, particularly my family, my amazing wife, Fatma, my daughter, she's looking at me, Asia, Maryam, Halima, for everything. And my daughters really are the best campaigners ever. They probably knocked on your door or passed out a flyer to you at the Art and Wine Festival or at the Farmers Market. And I want to thank, all the people who donated. 76 people donated to my campaign, all small dollar donations, grassroots. And my Facebook page, all the people who are supporting me there, it just hit nearly 1,100 followers. And all the organizations that endorsed me, even though I respectfully declined their PAC money. And everybody that voted for me, everybody that believed in me, everybody that walked precincts with me, I want to give a special shout out to two amazing people who walked and knocked on hundreds of doors. Luqman Saeb, I don't know if you're in the room, I haven't seen you, but I was kind of rushing in the beginning, so I didn't really look. And Tariq Murad, who knocked on hundreds of doors, as we were walking. And a lot of people have been congratulating me since I won, especially with the roller coaster count. And every time, somebody congratulated me, I tell them to pray for me and to help me in any way they can. But the best congratulations I got were not actually the words of congratulations. They were from two people who just separately told me, rather than congratulating me, they said, "I'm giving you my condolences." Because now you have a big responsibility on your shoulders. And this is something that I've always approached public service, even just as a volunteer and serving on those committees, that none of this is an entitlement. And I think a lot of times our politicians forget that. And politicians have turned into a dirty word. That none of this is an entitlement. It is a responsibility. And when you look at the word responsibility, it's what is your response to what your abilities are? If you have an ability to make something better, what is your response to being put into that situation? That's what responsibility is. And so when I had those scenarios happen to me, with the situation with my house, with the bees, when our family, my wife and I decided to go on a journey and work with the amazing organization Catholic Charities to foster a refugee girl, that is your responsibility. You have an ability and there's a need, and what is your response to that need? And so I'll close with one final story, and that's a story that it's not a personal story, but it's one that almost everybody here knows about or heard about, whether you're Muslim, Christian, Jewish, or you don't ascribe to any faith. And that's the story of our beloved Mother Mary. And I named my daughter Maryam after her. And it's the story of the miraculous birth of our beloved Jesus, peace be upon him. When Mary was carrying Jesus, and, as a miraculous pregnancy, and she left the town and she went into the middle of the desert, and she was thinking about, how people would react, how people would talk about her, how her and her family's reputation would be smeared when she came back. Piled on top of that, the burden that I will never know, but my wife knows, and all mothers in this room know, of bearing a child and delivering a child with no help in the middle of the desert, in the middle of the heat of the desert, with nothing at all. And she was resting under a palm tree, and she called out to God for help. And God revealed to her to reach out and to shake that palm tree. I don't know if any of you have ever tried, but shaking a palm tree is extremely difficult, and it is nearly impossible to shake the dates out of a palm tree. But God revealed to her to shake the palm tree, to reach out and shake the palm tree. And so she did, and dates fell from the palm tree. And that was her response to what she was able to do at the time. And so, even when times are tough, even when all the odds are against you and you don't have your provisions and you feel like you're alone, And a lot of times in this work, we feel alone, right? Maybe you're fighting for a downtown. I think I saw Mary here earlier. Maybe you're fighting for, a specific project or for your neighborhood. Or maybe you're fighting for worker or labor rights, or you're fighting for a minimum wage increase, or you're fighting for worker-owned co-ops, right? You're fighting for that thing that you really care about, or you're fighting for better transportation in the city, for better bike system, right? Maybe you're fighting for those things. But everybody in this room should find their passion, to find their ability, and to really ask themselves what their own personal response is to a need in the community that they can serve with the ability that they have. And so, with nobody around to help you, when you're all in the middle of the desert and you have nothing, nobody, you really just got to close your eyes and reach out and shake that palm tree, and the rest is in God's hands. And I think I already took enough time, but thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Those are very touching words. We appreciate that. And congratulations again. Next, we have Councilmember Raj Chahal.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll keep it short. Thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your evening to join us today. And thank you, Senator Wikowski, for swearing me in. I'm really honored to see so many friends, family, and community members in this room today. When I came to the United States 23 years back, I never imagined that I'll be sitting over here or ever imagined that I'll be a council member in any of this city or involvement in political purposes. In fact, my life has seen many unexpected turns which have led me to sit in this seat today. Born in a small village in India, at 10 years of age, I left our village, leaving behind my dad, mom, 2 siblings, to attend a military prep boarding school. My goal as a child was to be accepted to India's National Defense Academy, which is very similar to country's West Point Naval Academies. It was my dream to become an officer in the Indian Army. So for the 7 years I spent in boarding school, I worked extremely hard in hopes of making that dream a reality. I cleared the national written exam, aced the rigorous interview process, and scored 69th in merit in all India merit in the National Defense Academy. But the hard work was never paid off. Unfortunately, on the basis of minor medical issue, I was rejected by the National Defense Academy, and my childhood dreams were crushed. That was a particularly painful and sad time for me as an 11th grade kid who always focused on getting into the Army. That was a really crushing defeat. And I remember the day I got my medical result, I have been rejected, I sat on the pavement on the side of a road and cried all by myself for, I think, half an hour or so. But anyway, that was a really painful experience, and trying to gain acceptance into National Defense Academy was my only goal. Some years down the road, I found myself immigrating to the United States. When I arrived, I only had $500 in my pocket. And I began working low-paying blue-collar jobs. Today, with hard work, support from family, friends, and community, I'm extremely proud to have started a small business in Santa Clara, raised 2 boys with my family, and my wife, Daljit. And I see some of my colleagues from one of the first or second jobs over here. Thank you for coming. With the support from friends, my colleagues at work, and our community, I have been blessed to be elected as the first minority council member in Santa Clara history. So to everyone listening, young and old, please follow your dreams and never forget the value of hard work and perseverance. Honesty, hard work, and ethical values will always pay off. That's enough about me. This election wasn't about me or about any of us 7 sitting over here. This election was about us all together. This election was each and every resident of Santa Clara. Now it's time for us to come together and continue working hard to make Santa Clara an even better place that it is. As the first minority on the council, I will be extremely committed to making sure that Santa Clarans of all backgrounds and identities can receive representation. We must all work that our council can understand and respond to diverse needs and challenges of our city faces. I want to make it a priority to involve young people with fresh ideas and perspectives to help us represent on the council. Let's work together to make our city government more accessible to people. When people feel like their voices are heard and that they can become involved in our civic process, that's true representation. Every day on this job, I'll work to truly represent Santa Clarans. Today, our city faces many challenges, issues from affordable housing to high-density developments, and increased traffic to high rents. However, with many resources available in Santa Clara, through leading with innovative ideas and by working together, we can do our part in solving these complex issues. The 10 biggest companies in Santa Clara, such as Intel, NVIDIA, ServiceNow, Applied Materials, which do business in Santa Clara, have a market capitalization of over $500 billion. Our city has provided such an excellent business environment to these companies to thrive. This in return has skewed the jobs to housing ratio in our city and created some of these issues we are facing, like the traffic congestion, high rents, and affordability housing for our working families. We have so much room to collaborate and work with these multi-billion-dollar companies so that they can help us in solving our problems. So that I want our city to work together with these companies so that they can provide some sort of funding mechanism to solve our affordability housing, high rent, and transportation gridlock issues. Maybe we can need to look into complex employee tax issues, employee tax for every successful business. Just like Mountain View's partnership with Google, which provides free community bus service in city, I want our businesses to come up with the similar solutions in our city. Public-private solution should be a new normal. Believe me, I'll fight tirelessly to stand up for our hardworking Santa Clarans who are living paycheck to paycheck so that they can afford to live in our city. Myself and all of you sitting on the dais are so lucky to be blessed to have a financial stability, but not everyone of the hardworking families are as blessed. I have been in their situation and will never forget my tough days. We must make sure that City Council never forget people who are struggling to make the two ends meet. And I promise to always be voice for the common Santa Claran. We all must protect the quality of life of our residents. As your fellow council member, my humble request to my 6 colleagues over here on the dais, it is not about us anymore. It's about 125,000 residents of Santa Clara. Let's work collaboratively and try our best to do what best we can do to our residents. I'll be happy to open my house to invite all of you to sort out any personal differences we might have. When on this dais, let us differ on issues, not on personal basis. I'm so honored to be sitting here today as your council member and owe many thanks to all the people who have helped me get here. And when I say all, I mean everyone in Santa Clara. Firstly, I'm thankful to my parents who instilled in me many of the values, integrity, and hard work. They taught me 3 basic principles of our Sikh faith: Naam Jap, Kirat Kar, Vanchak. Always remember God, the Almighty, in every single endeavor you undertake. Earn your livelihood through hard work and honest means. And third one, selflessly serve and share with others, especially with those less fortunate than yourself. These principles have helped me get to where I am today, and I will always strive to keep these principles in mind and carry out my duties as your public servant. Thanks to our staff for my onboarding process and running this city professionally. Thanks to everyone friends, family, and supporters who believed in me from day one and encouraged me to run for office. Special thanks to my wife, Daljit, who always stood by me good and tough times. I could not have done it without you. And thanks to every Santa Claran for allowing me to serve you on the council. This seat is your seat, and I am just your representative, and history in the making. Thank you. And probably one more history. Probably I may be the only minority 1:6 on the council. I'm not sure going back whether it was something like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Chahal. Next, we have Councilmember Hardy.
I was just thinking how nice and full this is when we get to something really important and fun like land use. We'll see how many of you stick around. You just heard about the cake. One of my favorite politicians was Winston Churchill. He said, "No one pretends that democracy is perfect or all-wise. Indeed, it has been said that democracy is the worst form of government, except all those other forms that have been tried from time to time. It's not the voting that's democracy, it's the counting." I'd agree with Winston Churchill. The votes have been counted and there's a new city council for the city of Santa Clara. I told residents as I walked the neighborhoods that in some respects, I'm crazy. I already have a job that no matter how hard I work and how good a job I do, somebody's gonna be mad at me. I teach at the high school. Now, I work to get another hard job. I probably need my head examined. Here's my problem. I really care about Santa Clara and all the residents, and I'm willing to put in effort, energy, and time to serve the residents to the best of my ability. I would like to thank my long-suffering husband and daughters for not changing the locks on the house on me when I said that with the change in districts, I wanted to run for council. The reality is the campaign is very hard on everyone involved, and it's not for the faint of heart. In fact, if you don't like someone, suggest they run for a public office. But it's through this process that you learn who your real friends are. I have wonderful friends and family members who help me with the paperwork, the Facebook page, designing my campaign literature, the website, compiling walking lists, coming to forums, asking great questions, or just being the friendly face in the audience, donating to my campaign, addressing mailers, encouraging me, and walking precincts. Like I said, not for the faint of heart. True friends and family do these things. All these efforts paid off and I won. I had the momentary euphoria of, I won. And then the thought, oh dear, I won. Now my 7-year-old grandson, I'm so excited that my oldest daughter is here. They surprised me. They live 3 hours away north of Sacramento. And they even texted me today and said, sorry, we can't make it. So when I walked into Chambers, they were here. I was so excited. So I have the cutest grandkids and my daughter's expecting twins. So my favorite story is my grandson was very excited. On election night, he was watching the returns with his parents, but he got very frustrated. He started yelling at CNN, especially Wolf Blitzer, because they didn't mention my race. At one point, he even yelled at the TV, but what about Grammy? So I have the cutest message on my phone, Grammy, you won. He had to tell me. It was a pleasure to call my mother, who was 85, and living with my sister in Las Vegas, to tell her I won. Little did I know that was the last time I would ever talk with her. She passed away a few days later. Sorry. Needless to say, I've been on a roller coaster of emotions. My father was killed when I was 13 and my little sister was 6 months old. I'm the oldest of 5 children. My mother taught me to work hard and to be honorable. I miss her, but she's finally with Dad. She was on her own for 45 years. My mother is one of the most frugal people on the planet. She had a favorite saying, which is my motto. When it comes to resources, she always said, use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. I've learned to be careful with things. I'm humbled by the trust that has been bestowed on me by the voters of District 3. I take this honor very seriously. I know that I need to consider everyone's needs as I make decisions, because I am one vote out of 7 on a governing board which affects everyone who lives or works in Santa Clara. Lindsay Holmes, the Alaskan state representative, has said, many think that being humble means being timid or weak, a pushover, or someone who's too soft. But in reality, it's anything but. A true leader always has humility. It is through humility that a leader sees and treats everyone as equal. Without humility, a leader can turn into a despot. Ms. Holmes is right. Humility is an elusive virtue because the second you think you're humble, you're not. I will strive not to think about myself, but how my actions affect others. I strongly believe that just because government has the power to do something doesn't mean it should. Restraint and limited use of power is often the best choice. Thank you again to the voters who put me here, and I promise to do my very best.
Thank you, Councilmember Hardy. That was heartwarming, and we're glad your mom knew that you won the election, so congratulations. So I think it's my turn now. Okay, you ready? That cake's looking good over there. So first of all, I want to introduce my family because it's very rare that we're all together. So, so this is a very rare occasion. You met my father, Gary. Yes, we all know that he made his presence known. I'm very proud that he swore me in tonight. It really meant a lot to me. He's with his wife, Elizabeth, here. We have my sister, Michelle. Those of you who she taught at several schools in the school district know her as Mrs. Prophet, probably the bravest person that I know. Her husband, Dave, is with her this evening. My brother, David Gilmore, who I work with in my other job. Thank you, David, for all your help in the campaign. I don't see your wife, Vanessa, unless she didn't get a seat, but she's here somewhere, I think. My sister, Tisa, also known as Mrs. Renee Coleman, who's a teacher at Westwood. She's here this evening, so nice to see you, Tisa. So thank you all for coming. I have my husband, Dimitri, who you learned a little bit about how he tolerates me through all these times, and my children, who I'm extremely proud of, Kyle, Chloe, and Zachary, here in the front row. Kyle and Chloe are back from college, and Zachary's still in high school. He's my baby. So thank you all for being here. And yes, I made them dress up and come to City Hall. Yeah. But before I make a few remarks about this actual job, I wanted to give a shout out to the people that helped me get here, because running for election, especially when you're me, the people that support me have sometimes a tough time. And so I would be remiss if I didn't, first of all, just say really a heartfelt thank you to the core group of people that helped me in my campaign for mayor. I first want to talk about Lee Brofman. She was my treasurer, and Lee loves libraries. She's a library trustee, and she had a challenging time with me as my treasurer. So Lee, thank you so much for everything that you did for my campaign. Gabe Fu, who who worked with me on all my campaign materials and my social media and everything, who put up with me in the middle of the night calling him about how my website didn't look right and these types of things. Thank you, Gabe. I know you're out there somewhere, so I thank you for everything you've done. Kurt Vartan and Marguerite Lee, you guys were tremendous, helped in so many ways. I can't even describe how many ways you helped me. So thank you both very much. Emmy Minister, who takes the perfect picture and social media. I appreciate, Emmy, everything you did. And my secret weapon was Lorinda DeFreitas. Lorinda's here. She has the hat, the black hat on, yes. Looking very beautiful this evening. She is an unbelievable supporter, and she really helped me so much. So thank you, Lorinda, for everything you did. I had a few walkers and talkers, I'll call them. The first, Kevin Moore, when I talk about walker and talker. Yes, Kevin. Thank you so much, as well as the rest of your family, your mother, Mary, and Patty, and everyone. Steve Silva and Bev, thank you so much for everything you did. And Nancy Biagini, Kathy Watanabe, Teresa O'Neill, Debbie Davis, thank you so much for walking as well. I know it's not easy. It takes a lot of work, and I appreciate that. My photographers, Malcolm High and Manny Domingo, thank you so much. My social media ambassadors, and Qasr Jamal is not here. He's out of the country right now, but he's amazing with his 2 little boys, and just an amazing supporter. Emmy, and I had a few stars of my campaign page that helped me get elected. Gary Mehta, the Tennell family, Bob Owens, Ann Kempner, I see you here in the audience, the ever-popular Carol Wada and Dorothy Rosa. Unfortunately, Dorothy wasn't feeling well this evening, and Lee Brofman actually brought her a crown. See, she's holding it up there to give to her. So, Dorothy, if you're watching, there's a crown waiting for you. And last but not least, Angus Burdick, the dog. He was incredible with the dog lovers. I did get a lot of votes because of Angus, so thank you so much. And then I had a few event hosters, Linda Zazzara, Teresa O'Neill, Kathy Watanabe. Special thanks to the Police Officers Association and the Firefighters Association for supporting me, and those elected representatives that helped me. Congressman Ro Khanna, who wasn't able to be here this evening, and Senator Bob Wachowski, who's still here. Bob, at the last weekend before the election, came out. I didn't recognize him in these funny shorts. I didn't mean to tell him, but they were unbelievable, with this T-shirt, and I thought, wow, that's our state senator. He looks so cool. So anyways, he walked precincts and for Hassam and I, so thank you, Bob, for your support of Councilmember Chahal this evening and for helping us the last weekend before the election. So everyone who believed in me, who donated money, who put up signs, I see Rob Mazzetti over there, and a lot of people that helped, I really, really appreciate it. But a real special thank you to my family, because they're the ones that suffer when I'm up here. They're the ones that have to get their own dinners. My little Zachary knows how to call DoorDash now. He's got him on speed dial. Mom, when you're coming home, sorry, it's a long meeting. So I just want to say thank you to my family. They have put up with a lot, and I really appreciate all your support through all of this. So tonight is really a proud night for me and my family. I'm proud to be mayor in a city where I was born and raised, where I'm raising my children. I'm especially proud to be sworn in by my father, who was the first elected mayor in Santa Clara 50 years ago. He, at the time, 50 years ago, was recently widowed, had 4 children, and was the elected mayor. He had a lot of jobs. He had a teacher's job and some other jobs, as well as being the mayor of Santa Clara. He used to bring us here to the council chambers while he was working in the office that I sit in now, and we would come and play at the council dais and talk on the microphones for fun. Remember that, guys? And then run up and down the ramps outside of City Hall. So 50 years later, it's just really unbelievable that I'm sitting here knowing that he was in this position, you know, so long ago. So I was appointed in 2016, for those of you who don't know, when Jamie Matthews suddenly resigned, and what could have been a crisis for our city became a real turning point for Santa Clara. I've pushed City Hall to be more transparent, to be more fiscally responsible. I led of council to manage our city as a sacred duty to our sons, our daughters, our grandchildren, and all future Santa Clarans. We have stood up for residents and neighborhoods against strong special interests. We fought to uphold Measure J of the law that prevents the stadium from using our city revenues. We stopped the sale of the youth soccer park in Eulestack Natural Area and would not give it away in any backroom deals. A few months ago, we won a major arbitration. That means we'll have a net gain of $180 million in stadium rent so that Santa Clara taxpayers won't be burdened with debts other cities have been burdened with. And finally, we're building a strong fiscal foundation for our future. Last year, we put nearly $70 million into our reserves, once depleted during the Great Recession. So Santa Clara is headed in the right direction, and thanks to the leadership of this council and city staff. Our council is an amazing group of people. We have Patricia Mahan, who has vast experience and knowledge in the history of Santa Clara, and we rely on her for her experience and her history. We have Teresa O'Neill, whose leadership and commitment and is one of the hardest working members of our city council, just elected as chair of the Valley Transportation Authority Board. Congratulations, Teresa. We have Debbie Davis, who's passionate, for those of you who know her, and her no-nonsense approach, I think that's the kindest way I can say it, her no-nonsense approach to dealing with city issues is very, very impressive. And we have Vice Mayor Kathy Watanabe, who is in herself a force of nature, and she works tirelessly for her constituents and to make Santa Clara a better place, and she really cares. We are pleased and honored to be joined by Councilmember Chahal and Councilmember Hardy, who both have planning backgrounds. They both started on the on the Planning Commission, and they have both bring just a wealth of knowledge from all the nonprofit and other experiences, life experiences, work experiences, and everything that they have. They bring it to the City Council. So I'm pleased we actually have a full council. There's 7 of us sitting here now. Yay! No empty seats. I also want to thank our city manager, Deanna Santana, and her team, and our staff here at City Hall. They're second to none. They're just fantastic, and we are now getting so much done in this city. It's really incredible. So I want to welcome Karen and Raj to the council. But together we have so much work to do, as I think a couple have mentioned tonight. We're all going to be judged by how we manage growth and how we keep Santa Clara a great place to live. We're all going to be judged by how we stand up for our residents in the face of powerful special interests. We're all going to be judged by the quality of the city we leave our children and the future of Santa Clara. My father and his generation handed us a baton to this great city. Together, we can advance their work and hope future generations will be as proud of us as we are of them. So thank you very much. It's an honor to be your elected mayor in the city of Santa Clara, and I'm just so happy to be here and pleased to be with this honorable group of council members. Thank you. Okay, back to the agenda. All right. So for those planning issues, as Councilmember Hardy talked about, no, I'm kidding. All right, public presentations, City Clerk, Assistant City Clerk.
Yes, we have one speaker, Kirk Vartan.
Oh, Kirk Vartan. Please come forward. Welcome.
Thank you. Obviously, I only have 3 minutes here, so I won't keep much of your time. Quasar actually is online watching this on a live stream right now. So
oh,
he said he
could,
yeah, he's here right now. So I want to say congratulations to everybody, and thank you for your time and dedication that you put into this job. It's no easy feat. I've seen many meetings where you spend many hours here and spend away from your family. You have a lot of big projects that you're working on, a lot to do with City Place, with Kylie, with the stadium, downtown, uptown, 5 specific plans. You guys got a lot going on, but I don't want you to forget about the agri-hood. The agri-hood, that little gem over by Valley Fair. I want you to keep that. January is coming up right around the corner when it will be in front of you. And as Osam spoke about taking care of public assets and being transparent, I hope we really focus on that. And the things that have taken so much time these last few years, it's been almost 4 years since this hit the dais. Recently, we have Senator Wykowski in here who helped push legislation through and get legislation done, so this could be a project that we're all proud of and excited about. And the thing that I hope that we all embrace here is what Project for Public Spaces taught us about being a great place and placemaking, and how do you create great places for people, and how can the public serve, how can public assets serve those people with honor, dignity, and to make sure those public assets serve not just today, but for decades to come, as public land should. So I hope and I look forward to the discussions, and I hope that you look at how the Agri-Hood can be a wonderful project, a leadership project here in Santa Clara, and to make it something that we're all proud of, that creates incredible public places and public spaces today and into the future. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you. Are there any other public presentations? Okay, seeing none, we do have an adjournment this evening, and I think it's appropriate because I'm going to ask that we adjourn in the memory of Susan B. Wilson, who passed away, and I think knowing her, she would have enjoyed being at this meeting tonight, and she would have enjoyed that we're adjourning this great special meeting in her honor. So I'd ask the council that we please adjourn December 18th meeting in the memory of Suzanne B. Wilson, former YWCA Silicon Valley Board President, San Jose City Councilwoman, and Santa Clara County Supervisor. Susie, as we knew her, Susie B. Wilson, was born on September 30th, 1928 in Gonzales, Texas. She moved to California after her husband was discharged from the United States Navy. She served as YWCA board president from 1967 to 1970. She was subsequently elected to the San Jose City Council in 1973 and later served on the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors for District 1 from 1979 to 1991. She was a founding member of the 1974 of California Elected Women for Education and Research, as well as past president and life member. In 1990, she became a member of the West Valley of the Valley Medical Center Foundation Board of Directors, later serving as chair. In her 45 years of service to YWCA, Susie played an integral role in ensuring that the 100-year history of YWCA was written and published in 2005. She was chair of the YWCA Capital Campaign, which raised $3 million that made it possible to construct the first 2 floors of the YWCA building on South 3rd Street, now named the Susie B. Wilson Residence in her honor. In recognition of her commitment to service, a scholarship is awarded in her name at the annual Tribute to Women dinner. Susie was a champion of racial justice and women's equality and will be remembered for her legacy of service to the local community and government in San Jose and the county. She passed away at the age of 90. Susie is survived by her 3 sons, Bill, Rob, and David, her 3 daughters-in-law, Vicki, Tracy, and Linda, and 7 grandchildren. So do I have a motion that we adjourn in her memory? Motion to adjourn. And is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes. And seeing no other business, meeting's adjourned.